Hey, good evening, C3. It's Mr. Meld here to read Chapter 3 of We're Not From Here from Jeff Rodkey. Going to be working on our same skills this week. Visualization. Can you take our reading and the story and kind of create those pictures in your mind, which should be super fun because in this chapter, again, we're going to talk about 4 new, alien species and creatures that we're going to meet. Can you infer? We've been talking about that for the last month. Inferring is reading something, taking these clues, and then putting together with what we know and figuring out things that are going on in the story that are not directly stated. Inferring is a great abstract skill, and it really, really helps you do some analysis and some deeper thinking about a reading. So it is one we definitely want to practice. And story elements, setting, characters, plot, conflicts, and theme. I will give you a little bit of a hint on this one. When we talk about theme, notice the theme of immigration in this story, which of course is such a powerful idea, both going on in our own world and how the United States is dealing with it currently. And notice how the new creatures and people of Planet Choom greet and think about the humans as we go through this book. I think immigration and this idea of different cultures coming together to meet each other is one of the powerful themes of this book. If you remember in chapter 2, Lon and Isla's family have been, or actually the whole human race, has been invited to Planet Choom from the Mars station. However, it takes them 20 years to get there, so they've gone into biosuspension to travel light speed and light years across the universe to get to wherever Planet Choom is. But in the 20 years they've been asleep to travel, all of a sudden something has changed, as we remember. Fortunately, we were only in the transport for 2 days before we went into suspension and woke up the next morning, or 20 years, depending on how you looked at it. The solar system, 60 trillion miles away, ready to start our new life on Choom. But there was a problem. During the 20 years we were asleep, the aliens had changed their minds about us. That is a technique called foreshadowing. A lot of times in stories, especially early in the stories, there'll be some kind of hints that authors lay out there that, like, if we're only on chapter 2, we know all stories have problems. Not everything's just going to go swimmingly, beautifully well. It's not like, oh, we got to this new planet, and now everything's fine. The end. No, right? Story mountains. We have conflicts, we have obstacles, we have things that our main characters need to overcome that challenge and change them. It's one of the big things about thinking about text structure. We know this is a fictional story. There's going to be plot, problem, resolution, and then conflict at the end. Those were not in order, but hopefully you remember what I'm talking about. Chapter 3, never mind. Can you just go away? The first thing I heard about when I came out of suspension was my mom's voice. Hey, Lon, she was saying. Hey, it's time to get up, Lon. I could feel her fingertips gently pushing the hair off my forehead. When I opened my eyes, she was smiling down at me. I smiled back, I sat up, and then I barfed. Or I would have if there'd been anything in my stomach. Since it was empty, they don't just let you go to sleep for 20 years on a full stomach. I mostly just dry heaved into the little bucket Mom held for me. It's okay, she said as she patted me on my back. Everyone does it when they come out of it. Again, another visualization opportunity technique. Here, think about any time you've been sick, anytime a family member has been nicely kind of rubbing your back as you're sick of a toilet, right? You can visualize that happening to Lon. He wakes up, he gets out of suspension, then he immediately starts puking, and someone is nicely rubbing his back, right? Make that picture in your mind. Why aren't you doing it? Oh, I've been up for a day or so. Your father has too. Morning, sunshine. I looked up and saw Dad sitting on the edge of Isla's pod, holding her hair back while her face was buried in her own bucket. Long time no see. Again, that's inferring. Her face buried in her own bucket while her dad holds her hair. You know what's happening there. The author doesn't have to tell you. That is that inferring skill that we very much want to work on. It doesn't feel like it, I said, looking across the crowded pod room. Everyone was like us, either just getting up or holding a bucket for someone who was just getting up. It's weird, right? 20 years went by just like that. I heaved again. Oh, close way to Choom. Oh, pretty close, Mom said. We're in orbit. Are we landing soon? Mom and Dad looked at each other and went, well, what? Mom's tone of voice sent Isla's head jerking up out of her bucket. My sister's face was gray, and there was fat, dark circles under her eyes. She narrowed them at Mom. What's going on? Oh, there's been a complication, Mom said in a quiet voice. As soon as everyone's awake, we'll explain it. An hour later, Mom stopped at the front of the pod room with Dr. Chang and General Schiller. just like they had been when they played the invitation video for us back on Mars. This time around, they didn't look excited. They looked worried. Well, when the first of us came out of biosuspension, General Schiller explained, we radioed Choom's government for landing instructions. Instead of answering, they sent us this video. We figured you'd best see it for yourselves. The communal screens on each wall of the room flicked to life with the image of a single Zuri in a close-up, its compound eyes fixed on the camera. Hee hee hee. After a moment, our translator apps kicked in. The unified government of Choom regrets to inform you that our people have agreed the human species is too violent and emotional to live amongst us. Our society has no conflict. Your presence would threaten our peace. For your safety and ours, we ask that you leave our orbit immediately. Please do not attempt to enter Choom's atmosphere or our defensive weapons will vaporize you. We wish you all safe travels and a pleasant future. Goodbye. The video ended, and then the yelling began. And there was a lot of crying, too. The yelling and the crying went on for a long time, mostly because there was nothing we could do. The GC had sent a dozen messages down to Planet Choom since we were getting the video, but no one would answer them. It didn't seem like the GC's fault to me. A lot of people blame them anyway. How can you let them do this to us? They invited us here. It's just as big a mystery as it is to you, Dr. Chang said. Did you lie to them or something? Are they just finding out now what humans are like? Absolutely not, Mom said. We were open with them from the very beginning about Earth's entire history. We sent thousands of hours of historical and cultural videos. We knew everything there was. They knew everything there was to know about us. We gave them the whole kit and caboodle, General Schiller agreed. Warts and all. That's why it took them so long to actually invite us in the first place. Most people wanted to leave Choom's orbit right away, but we couldn't because we didn't have enough fuel left to go anywhere. And even if we did, there was no place to go. We haven't logged a message from the Novo group since 6 months after we left for Mars. Quick break here. Remember, there was 3 different groups on planet Mars. There was the group of humans that wanted to go to Novo and do terraforming, which was in, like, you landscape a whole planet so that you can live there. There's a group that wanted to go back to Earth, and there was the group that continued to go on to Choom. We haven't logged a message from the Novo group since 6 months after we left Mars, Dr. Chang explained. At that point, they'd just begun their journey. We've heard nothing further since they entered biosuspension. Are they okay? Someone shouted. We don't know, Dr. Chang said. They've been having problems with their communication array. The radio silence could be that. Or something worse. Why don't we just go to Nova ourselves? Someone else suggested. Dr. Chang shook her head. We're close enough now to analyze Nova's atmosphere. It has no oxygen. Terraforming it is beyond our ability. We can't live there. What about the Earthers? How are they doing? This time, all 3 of the GC members shook their heads sadly. Remember, GC stands for Governing Council. That's like the government that's in charge of the few human beings that are left alive after whatever happened on Earth happened. They went pretty dark as soon as they got to Earth, said General Schiller. The final message made it clear things didn't work out too well for them. My eyes welled up as I thought about Jens and the others. Let's just go back to Mars, somebody else called out. There was more head shaking from the GC. Even if we had the fuel, Mom explained. By the time we got there, the station would have spent 40 years exposed to Martian windstorms. Its life support systems would have failed a long time ago. This is nonsense, bellowed a tall, red-faced man named Gunderson. Back on Earth, he'd been a football coach, and he still seemed to get a kick out of yelling like one. Are you telling me we spent 20 years burning fuel, crossing half a galaxy, just to turn around again because these folks got cold feet? I say we call their bluff, put ourselves down on that planet, and tell them we ain't taking no for an answer. Some people really liked hearing that. They clapped and whistled, but General Schiller wasn't impressed. Mr. Gunderson, he said in a low but firm voice, Choom society is fundamentally peaceful, but that warning in the video, sir, about vaporizing us was no joke. These folks have weapons technology that makes us look like cavemen throwing rocks. We call their bluff, we're going to get our heads handed to us. More than that, the general added, I want to remind you that that kind of thinking that says we can get what we want by attacking people was what cost us our planet in the first place. I'd like to believe we all learned a lesson from that. I know that I did. Gunderson didn't like being scolded by the general. Crossed his arms and stuck out his jaw like a pouty kid. What the hell else are we gonna do? We're going to try to talk to these people, replied Schiller, and pray that they start talking back. After that, Mom delivered a big pep talk about how it was a scary situation, but we were all going to get through it together. And in the end, we'd all look back and be proud of how we'd helped save the human race and met this challenge with courage, unity, and good cheer. I think it must have been really inspiring, but I didn't hear a word of it because I was so anxious and scared that I couldn't think straight, let alone listen to his speech. I didn't sleep a wink that night, and it wasn't just because I'd got 20 years worth of sleep the night before. Considering all the sniffles, whimpers, and muffled tears echoing through the darkened pod room that night, I don't think anyone else slept either. After we'd spent a couple of very bad days in orbit, Choom's government finally started to talk to us. At first, they just traded messages with the GC, mostly apologies, along with more requests for us to leave. But then Mom managed to talk them into doing a live video conference in the pod room with the whole group of us. But we look awful, Isla said when she heard the news. It was true. What was left of the human race looked exactly like you'd expect from a room full of starving people who hadn't changed their clothes in 20 years. Mom just nodded. That's the whole point. If they can see us, they might feel some sympathy. And then they'll realize we're not a threat to them. So when the video conference began and the lone Zuri's insect-like head appeared on the communal screens, we all did our best to look pitiful, helpless, and friendly all at once. It was a tough combination to pull off. Greetings, said the Zuri. Our translator apps gave her the voice signature of a squeaky-sounding little girl, which would have been funny if the situation weren't so serious. My name is Leanie. I am a senior official in the Immigration Division of the United Government of Choom. On behalf of our people, I apologize that you are no longer welcome. Mom had been given the job of speaking for all of us. Greetings to you, Leanie, she said with her translator app turned her words into the yee-hee-hee whine that Zuri could understand. I think that's part of it's funny, right? If you ever heard a mosquito and it's buzzing around your ear, you hear the little zzz. Jeff Rodkey, the author here, has kind of taken that joke and they've made the Zuri these 6 foot tall mosquito people, but their voices still is that like buzzy ee of an actual mosquito. I don't know. I think it's clever. Hello, my name is Amora Prasad, and I am a member of the Governing Council of the Human Race. We humbly ask that you reconsider your decision. Mom waved her hand to indicate the thousands of those of us who stood behind her. As you can see, she explained, we are all a weak, helpless, and desperate group. If you admit us to Choom, we promise to cause no violence and do no harm. If we break this promise, we will leave immediately. We only wish to live in peace with your mercy and help. The Zuri took so long to answer that I started to wonder if the data connection was broken. Finally, she spoke again. Everyone here agrees that it is best if the human does not come to Choom. With all due respect, Mom replied, we are only here because you invited us. We have nowhere else to go. That invitation was sent a long time ago, Zuri said. Since then, there have been many changes in the United Government. Those who invited you are no longer our leaders. Now everyone agrees that for your own safety as well as ours, you should not come here. We have nowhere else to go, Mom repeated in a firm voice. There's very little food and even less fuel on this ship. We'll use nearly all we had in order to come to you. As you requested, if you do not let us land, we will die. There was gasps and whimpers all around me. I knew the situation was bad, but hearing Mom say it out loud made my whole body turn weak with fear. Somehow, Mom's voice stayed calm. You say you love peace, she told the Zuri. If so, how can you allow this to happen? It was impossible to tell what the Zuri was thinking. Her compound eyes and her tube-shaped mouth never moved, but the pause before she answered was even longer than before. We will call you back, she finally said, and then the screen went dark. The next day, Naya and I were sitting on our pod, playing Monopoly on her screen. Isla was next to us, lying on her own pod and watching TV, when Mom and Dad practically sprinted across the room to us. They'd been in the control room, and it was obvious from their faces that something big had just happened. What is it? I asked. Choom's government agreed to open the planet to one human reproductive unit, Mom told us, grinning from ear to ear as she made the air quotes around human reproductive unit. They're letting in one family as a test case, Dad explained. If it works out, we think they'll let everybody in. My sister's eyes widened. The family's not going to be us, is it? It was us. That is chapter 3. Like I said, I'm excited to get you guys your own copy of these books. So instead of you listening to me read, we can be reading together more disgusting book. But we'll give that a couple of more days. Other than that, any questions, comments, messages, texts, please send them to me. I hope everyone is doing well. Have a lovely dinner and stay safe, be well, and hope to see you soon. Bye. From my apartment and Planet Choom. Good night.